Have you ever wondered what the cost of looking like someone else could be? A college student had literally no ties with her killer beforehand, and still, she was found dead under unspeakably chilling circumstances just for this. As investigators dug deeper, disturbing patterns started to come out. Research says that everyone, like you and me, has likely 7 potential lookalike individuals on Earth. So technically, could we also be in danger anytime, any day, just like the college student in this crime story? Because when you see how insane and random this case is, it'd likely set you in panic, particularly if you have anxiety issues. September 14, 2016. Off a worn footpath near Grapevine Lake, there was a patch of burnt soil hidden within the overgrown weeds. And there, inside a small melted blue kiddie pool, was a charred corpse. The body was burned so badly that they couldn't even tell if it was a man or a woman. No features remained, just blackened flesh and bone. No one knew who it was, and no one knew how they had ended up like this, and everyone had just one question in mind: who was the victim? It took a full day for investigators to get an answer. Using fingerprints, they identified the remains as Jackie Vandergiff, a 24-year-old nutrition major at Texas Woman's University in Denton. She had been young, driven, and full of ambition. Her friends remembered her as someone who was always smiling and always believing in the best in people. So how did a girl like her end up here, burned beyond recognition, discarded in the woods like trash? When investigators retraced her final hours, they found that she had spent the last night of her life at a bar in Denton, Texas with a man. At first, no one knew who he was, and in that moment a new girl came forward, someone who knew that man better than anyone. His name was Charles Bryant, and that new girl was his ex-girlfriend, Caitlyn Mathis. People who knew Bryant said he was a quiet person and smooth with women around, looking like just another carefree student enjoying a night out. But Caitlyn told a different story. Their relationship had started just 3 months earlier, the murder, in June. Caitlyn had been working as a server in a Grapevine restaurant when he walked in. He was 29, covered in tattoos, and built like a man who lived in the gym. She was 18, fresh out of high school, still figuring life out. He caught her attention immediately. Maybe it was the bad boy appeal, enough to make her say yes. At first, their relationship was normal. He would always give me flowers, she later told police. Always, especially if he had something to be sorry about. But something about him didn't sit right with Caitlyn's mother, Karen. The first time she saw his picture, a chill ran down her spine. Something deep inside whispered a warning. She even told Caitlyn, "He's going to hurt you." But Caitlyn, like any teenager in love, brushed it off, and on the other hand, Bryant was charming and persuasive. He made her feel special. But then, almost as quickly as it started, it began to crumble. Caitlyn started noticing things that were not really okay. The way he talked about himself, how he always had to be right, how he convinced her she'd never find anyone better. All the little things turned into red flags: controlling behavior, manipulation, something dark lurking beneath the surface. It was toxic, and she knew it. And by mid-August, she finally made up her mind. It was over. She told him it was done. She thought that would be the end, but Bryant had other ideas, and he started stalking her, showing up uninvited at her dorm or at places she had never told him about. Bryant lived about 20 miles away, but he had been making frequent trips to Denton, desperately trying to win back Caitlyn. She had recently moved to attend the University of North Texas, and while he kept showing up, begging for another chance, Caitlyn had already made up her mind. Nothing he did was going to change that. But Bryant was never the kind of man who handled rejection well. So, being irritated and creeped out, she went to the police. A stalking report was filed and a warrant was issued. Immediately, a no trespass order was issued as well, and Bryant was officially banned from campus. That should have been the end of it. But Charles Bryant wasn't done, because when people like him hear no, they don't walk away. They find another way in. That's why her heart almost stopped the moment she saw him walk through the door, even at her workplace. It was her first day at a new job, a fresh start, a place where he shouldn't have been able to find her. But there he was, Charles Bryant, standing right in front of her like he belonged there. Had he been following her? Had he been watching her this whole time? Her new coworkers barely even glanced up before one of them casually said, "Oh yeah, he was here yesterday looking for you." She understood that she was not safe there. Without hesitation, she quit and went back to her old job, a half-hour away, just to escape. But just 1 week later, on September 6th, Caitlyn's phone buzzed. Someone was at the dorm entrance. It was Bryant again, and her pulse quickened. She was alone. His voice came through the door, calm but firm. "Caitlyn, I know you're in there. Just open up. I have something for you." She didn't respond. Instead, she slipped into her roommate's closet and quietly dialed 911. "We can't hear you. Speak up," the dispatcher said. She stayed silent. Outside, Bryant knocked again. "Caitlyn, come on. I just want to talk." After waiting several minutes, she finally checked the hallway. It was empty, except for a 2-page letter and a bouquet. By the time police arrived, he was gone. Meanwhile, Caitlyn had already blocked him from calling, texting, emailing, everything. But that same day, a new email popped up in her inbox from a new email account. "Here I am, heartbroken and with a criminal record for bringing the girl I love flowers." That was the moment Caitlyn knew. This wasn't just a bad breakup. This was dangerous. The police officer got her an emergency protective order, but wished that also could stop Bryant. The emails kept coming. The attempts to contact her didn't stop. So finally, the next day, police showed up at Bryant's house. But this time, they weren't charging him with trespassing. They were charging him with stalking. Everyone thought finally this would be enough to make him stop. And suddenly, just days later, Jacqueline Vandergiff was dead. Was that a coincidence? And who was Jackie Vandergiff in their story? Was she never the intended target? To find the connection, when investigators took a closer look, that's when they saw it. Jacqueline and Bryant's ex-girlfriend Caitlyn were actually never connected at all, but they were lookalikes, the same features, the same presence, like doppelgangers. And now, after knowing this, it simply means that Jacqueline had simply been in the wrong place at the wrong time. What if Bryant had seen her that night, had something snap inside him, and in his twisted mind, saw not a stranger, but her ex? Because as you see, after the breakup, Bryant was someone who we call an obsessive ex. And somehow he had ended up with Jackie Vandergiff, and the real question was, how? Just 2 days before the murder, Charles Bryant walked out of jail, posting a $5,000 bond like nothing had happened. He had been arrested for violating a restraining order, but now he was free, and talking, spinning stories, and telling his friends that Caitlyn was the crazy one. And somehow people believed him as well. Surprisingly, people even pressured Caitlyn to drop the charges. But Bryant wasn't done. By September 13th, he was back in Denton, barely half a mile from Caitlyn's dorm. And that night, he went to Fry Street Public House at around 7 p.m., blending into the college crowd. And just an hour later, the girl of this case, Jackie Vandergiff, walked in, not to have fun, but to look for a job. She struck up a conversation with the bartender, and that's when she met Bryant. Jackie was the kind of person who could talk to anyone and make friends wherever she went. And at 9 p.m., she left the bar with Bryant and the bartender, moving to another place nearby where she chatted with a group of women. It was raining by 9:45 and people started heading out. But Jackie didn't go home. She left with Charles Bryant, and that was the last time anyone saw Jackie Vandergiff alive. Meanwhile, at some point, Bryant stopped at a convenience store. Security cameras even caught Jackie in his car. But after that, she was gone. And suddenly, the next day, her body was found burned unrecognizable. But the real horror came hours later when her Twitter account posted something new. "Never knew I could feel like this." Jackie was dead. So who posted that? The police had no doubt it was her killer, but they needed proof and a name, and that's when they got their first break. The women Jackie had spoken to that night remembered Bryant. One of them even had his business card. He had told them he was a fitness instructor. That was enough for the police, as they knew he was the one and only suspect. But there was a problem. They had no physical evidence tying him to Jackie's murder, which meant he was still free, still out there. And now police had another fear. If Bryant had already killed once, what was stopping him from doing it again? So the police tried to find his ex-girlfriend Caitlyn to check if she's safe. Meanwhile, Caitlyn had no idea about any of this, and Bryant was sending her emails again, one with a picture of a tree at Grapevine Lake with the caption, "First kiss under this tree, once upon a time." So had he killed Jackie? And if he had, was Caitlyn next? Because those emails weren't just creepy, they were illegal too. A restraining order had been put in place and Bryant wasn't supposed to contact her at all. So on September 18th, Charles Bryant was arrested again. This time, not for Jackie's murder, but for violating the restraining order again. When the detectives sat him down for questioning, Bryant played it cool. But back at his house, they found things he couldn't explain. A large military-style knife, Jackie's purse, and then 2 discoveries that shattered whatever defense he thought he had. Security footage of him buying a shovel the night Jackie disappeared and something missing from his backyard. A kiddie pool. Exactly, the same kind Jackie's body was found in. You see, Bryant was trapped, the evidence was stacking up. And when detectives pressed him, he said something chilling. "Well, I must have done it. I don't remember doing anything. Everything points to me. It's like I had to have done it." While everything screamed that Bryant had disposed of Jackie's body, there was still one gaping hole in the case. No one knew exactly how she had died. And without that, proving murder would be a lot harder than anyone wanted to admit. The police needed more. They needed a confession. So they called in someone who knew exactly how to break a man like Charles Bryant. And what happened next simply changed everything. But before we jump to that, don't forget to subscribe to this channel because that's what motivates us to bring you new true crime stories. The police brought someone special, Texas Ranger Jim Holland, who had seen some of the worst killers up close. But this case was different. The brutality, the lack of hesitation, it was the kind of crime that screamed deep, personal rage. The thing is, Holland already knew the truth. The challenge for him wasn't figuring out if Bryant did it, it was getting him to say why. So Holland changed his tactics, and instead of coming at Bryant like a cop, he made it feel like 2 guys shooting the breeze. Talked about the gym, talked about women. This made Bryant feel like they were just 2 guys hanging out, sharing stories. The more Bryant relaxed, the more he talked, and soon the cracks started to show. At first, it was small details, things he shouldn't have remembered if his memory was really so hazy. He knew Jackie had been at the bar that night. He knew it was raining. He probably gave her a ride. Suddenly, he wasn't so sure about his amnesia anymore. And then Holland threw in a question that was surprising. Was this really about Jackie, or was it about Caitlyn? At this question, Bryant literally froze. The theory also made sense. What if, in the dim light of the bar after a few drinks, Jackie looked just enough like the girl who had broken his heart? What if, in that moment, his brain made the connection and the anger, the rejection, the humiliation, all of it boiled over? But if Jackie had just been in the wrong place at the wrong time, then why had Bryant gone so far? Why the dismemberment? Why the fire? That kind of violence wasn't just about rage. It was about something else, something darker. She was already dead when he took her phone. After the murder, he didn't even panic. He didn't run. Instead, he used it to add someone on Facebook. Whom did he add on her Facebook? We will come to that later, but this was a move so casual, so disturbing that it barely made sense. Another woman, Christy Dixon, might have had an answer. Christy had met him a year before Jackie Vandergiff's death, back when he was just another guy on a dating app. He had seemed quiet, maybe even shy, but it didn't take long for her to realize something was off. He got attached, fast. Clingy, obsessive, saying things that felt way too intense for something that was supposed to be casual. She tried to pull away, but he wouldn't let her. He even told her he loved her. But it was unsettling, and he wasn't violent, but just too desperate. On the other hand, Christy worked with abused children, and she had a gut feeling about people like him. So she confronted him one day, asking, what happened to him? Why was he like this? And then he revealed to her that he had been molested in his childhood. Christy didn't know if it was true, but it made sense. That kind of trauma leaves permanent scars, and it twists people into something different. So she didn't see a monster in him, she saw someone broken. But that never dilutes his crime and monstrosity. And speaking of that, it takes us to the same question. Why he had to burn the body like that? Was he hiding something? Like an inconsensual sex or sexual violence? When interrogated, Bryant said he didn't have sex or violence with Jackie. But slowly he started changing his story. He revealed they had kinky sex. She even wanted to be choked, as he said. There just happened to be an oversized zip tie in his car, and that's what she wanted. But Holland had heard too many stories like this before. Naturally, he didn't believe any of these stories of Bryant. On the flip side, Bryant swore he never meant to kill her. The zip tie tightened on its own, he claimed. Maybe it got caught on something, maybe it was just an accident, but you see, the lie was almost laughable because the way Jackie Vandergiff died could not be an accident. The surprising part is that after that so-called accident, Bryant tried to make sure no one would ever find out how it happened. And that's when Bryant broke down because he had no other choice. The things he said chilled everyone to the bone. He described the aftermath in gruesome detail, how he got rid of Jackie's body, how he set it on fire, how he watched the flames consume the evidence. After the murder, he took her remains to a park in Grapevine, Texas, and put them in a kiddie pool. Then he soaked the body in an accelerant and set it on fire. The flames exploded, turning everything to ash and nothing but totally burnt scraps. But even as he admitted to this, he still wouldn't say the one thing that mattered most. Did he really kill her? Anyway, Bryant was charged with Jackie's murder, but in the meantime, Caitlyn made a disturbing discovery. When she heard the breaking news, she went online searching for Jackie Vandergiff, trying to understand who she was and why Bryant had chosen her. And that's when she saw it. A friend request came from Jackie Vandergiff, but Jackie was already dead. Then again, who sent it? And Caitlyn knew there was only one answer, and it was Bryant. But Bryant wasn't done playing his game. Not yet. He even pleaded not guilty in the court, spinning a story that no one quite believed. According to him, Jackie's death was nothing more than an accident, as he said before. A drunken night, a sexual encounter gone wrong, and so on. His lawyer, Glennis McGinty, also insisted there was no direct proof that Bryant had actually murdered her. Plus, there was this question: why did he kill her? That was the only question prosecutors struggled to answer. The motive wasn't clear. Did he really want to kill Caitlyn? But just because he was obsessed with her instead of her, he just killed her lookalike. Was it the case? Or was Caitlyn supposed to be next? One way or other, the case against Bryant was still strong, and during the trial, he wasn't about to take the stand to explain himself either. So the jury had to decide without hearing his version. And just over 2 hours later, the verdict was in. Guilty. Bryant had killed Jackie Vandergiff. He had dismembered her. He had tried to erase her from existence. No wonder all these were not merely an accident. But still, he was not facing the death penalty, because under Texas law, prosecutors needed proof that another crime had been committed alongside the murder, like kidnapping or sexual assault. Without it, life in prison was the harshest sentence they could get. But life in prison didn't mean forever. Bryant would be eligible for parole in 30 years. And Caitlyn Mathis knew exactly what that meant, because one day Charles Bryant could walk free again. And when he did, would he come for her again? What do you think? Share your thoughts in the comment section. Now, while this was an extremely brutal and disturbing case, what we are going to tell you next will be more terrible and shocking. Because the next case is not only about the victim, it's about a killer social app which is popular mostly among teenagers. So anybody, any day can be a victim of it, even you or your dear ones. That's what makes the next case more disturbing. Watch this to know more about it. Subscribe to the channel for more, and see you soon.